Once there were 10 suns in the sky. The earth cracked from heat. Crops withered. People could barely live. A man named Hou Yi drew his bow and shot down 9 in one breath, leaving only one, so the world regained day and night in the 4 seasons. You have probably heard this story. But do you know who first wrote it down with full seriousness? Not a footnote in a textbook, but a feudal prince 2,000 years ago, with thousands of retainers, gazing at the stars between the Huai and Yang rivers, simmering myth, philosophy, health, and statecraft into a great book called Master Huainan's Annals. Good evening. This is Bedside Book Voice. Tonight we read Master Huainan's Annals. If you are already lying down, dim the lamp a little more. Set the phone farther away. Pull the blanket up. The title sounds like a place name, but the book is really a vast eclectic work that looks up at heaven and down at people. You don't need to memorize 21 scrolls or master every Taoist term. Just follow my voice. Hear how a prince found his place between heaven and earth. Hear a few myths you know by heart, and learn where they were first gathered. When we are done, you'll carry away a few reminders that can stay with you a long while. If you fall asleep halfway, that's fine. Liu An will not scold you. I will not either. Many people know only Nuwa mending the sky and Hou Yi shooting the sun, without knowing that behind them lies a way of living well inside a changing cosmos. This journey is about half an hour. You lie still. Leave understanding to me. Leave sleep to the bed. That opening question stays buried for now. This prince compiled books, kept scholars, and sought immortality. Why could he not later save even his own life? The answer hides in how he read heaven, how he read people, and how he read the logic of long life. We will get there slowly. If you have heard our episode on Master Liu's Spring and Autumn Annals, you may remember Lü Buwei's Great Pot, stewing the 100 schools into a chancellor's think tank report. Master Huainan's Annals sounds like Qin's echo arriving in Han. The pot remains. The fire changed, with less urgency that every command must go out at once, and more drifting attention to reading heaven and watching the seasons. Lü Buwei asked how to govern the realm. Liu An asked how heaven and earth took shape and how a person should live. 2 lines, one along the ground, one lifted toward the stars. Before sleep you needn't choose which is right. Just feel that people have always walked on earth while also searching for meaning in the sky. Han inherited Qin's institutions, yet early Han hearts were still weary. The annals move, first showing you how vast heaven and earth are, then asking how to stand in the human world, feels like giving the empire a slightly slower breath. The nominal master of this book is Liu An, grandson of Han's founding Emperor Gaozu and uncle to Emperor Wu of Han. He held the title King of Huainan. His capital was Shochuan, in today's Huainan area of Anhui. He was born royal, yet unlike some princes who knew only hunting and wine, the histories say he loved reading, loved esoteric arts, and loved keeping scholars. Retainers reportedly numbered in the thousands. The most famous legend speaks of the 8 sages, 8 men of deep learning who came to join him, discussing the way and writing together. Whether there were exactly 8, and whether each left a name, scholars still argue. Before sleep you needn't settle that. What matters is that Liu An did not want a few idle mouths at table. He wanted pens that could help him see heaven clearly and settle people on earth. Liu An did not write every word alone. He was the host. His retainers were the writers. The work was collective and appeared under the King of Huainan's name. That method resembles Master Liu's Annals and the Warring States Masters. What is unusual is the tone. The Huainan book leans Taoist. It tells how the cosmos grew from chaos, how yin and yang turn through the 4 seasons, how people suffer when they violate heaven's way. It also speaks of nurturing life, immortals, governing through non-action, using arms, and human affairs. Confucian, legalist, and yin yang shadows are all present, so later readers still class it among the eclectics. That does not mean messy. Early Han people believed heaven is vast, people are small, and learning should be wide enough to hold both looking up and looking down. The full work has 21 essays, traditionally divided into inner and outer chapters, with some versions also speaking of middle chapters. Titles vary by edition. Before sleep you needn't memorize the table. Roughly remember this: the inner chapters are the spine, treating the way, heaven, earth, people, spirit, warfare, and the forest of sayings. The outer chapters are limbs reaching outward, landing doctrine in local custom and worldly craft. Scholars may fight over which chapter came first and which was added later. That is daytime work. At night you need only know this is not a single theme book. It's a prince's hall with many people around the brazier, one speaking of stars, one of medicine, one of border war, one of village jokes, all bound into one volume at the end. Reading Master Huainan's Annals, your first gate is Tian, heaven. Heaven is not a cloth overhead. It's the running pattern, the general name for 4 seasons, cold and heat, day and night, wind and rain. The book has treatises on astronomy and on terrain, like drafting the world. Tales of Pangu opening heaven and earth may not all originate here, yet Luan's writers describe the first shape of heaven and earth, how mountains and rivers are arranged, where the 9 regions lie. There is a drive to stand you in the cosmos first. If by day reports, messages, and meetings fill you, a few lines on the size of heaven and earth before sleep may loosen the chest. Your trouble is large, yet night remains, stars remain, the bed remains. Closely joined to heaven is Rin, the human. Correspondence between heaven and human is not a superstitious slogan about heaven's punishment. It means human conduct should answer to season and order. Be still when stillness fits. Move when movement fits. Store when storing fits. Release when releasing fits. Luan's Wu Wei is not lying flat and doing nothing. It's not wrenching against heaven. Like Master Lu's adaptation, but the Huainan book prefers to speak from above. You are not the center of the cosmos, yet you are not irrelevant dust either. Between heaven and earth there is a scene where you may walk. The second core idea is Hua, transformation. Hua means change, generation, and nurturing growth. The Annals believes everything changes. Yin and Yang rise and fall. The 4 seasons turn. People move from youth to age. The story of Nuwa mending the sky is written in this book. In remote antiquity, heaven collapsed in one corner and earth sank in a crack. Water and fire raged. Fierce beasts ran wild. The goddess Nuwa smelted 5 colored stones to mend heaven, cut the legs of a giant turtle to set the 4 poles, slew a black dragon to save Jizhou, and piled reed ash to stop the flood. The version you heard as a child may differ in detail. The soul lives here in the Huainan line. When the world breaks, it can be repaired. People are tiny, yet someone is willing to mend. Mending heaven is not asking you to carry stones tonight. It's telling you a broken situation is not always the end. Sometimes you smell bit by bit and fill bit by bit. Read this together with Hou Yi shooting the sun and the flavor deepens. 10 suns appearing at once is not 10 toy suns hung in the sky. Order broke. Heat killed all growth. Hou Yi shot 9 and left 1, restoring the balance of 1. The Annals does not want only a hero legend. It wants the lesson of too much and too little. 1 sun is not enough. 10 are far too many. In human affairs as well, law too harsh wounds people, and total looseness also breeds chaos. If by day you feel something is always wrong, before sleep ask, is it too little or too much? Did we lack that 1 arrow, or keep 9 too many? Dangang's rage against Mount Buzhou also holds a place in the Huainan narrative system. The water god Gongang fought the fire god Jerome, lost, and rammed Mount Buzhou. The pillar of heaven broke. The cords of earth snapped. Heaven tilted northwest, so sun, moon, and stars drift there. Earth was insufficient in the southeast, so rivers and dust gather there. This is myth explaining geography, and also explaining how the world tilts after one great conflict. Before sleep, you needn't memorize the old text. Just feel that some tilt was written into the structure from the start. People must learn to find their center in a tilted world. You may also know Jingwei filling the sea. The little daughter of the flame emperor drowned in the eastern sea. Her spirit became the bird Jingwei, carrying twigs and stones to level the ocean. The tale may not come from the Huainan book alone, yet the spirit here holds that stubborn drive to act though success seems impossible, and also the imagination of transformation. The person dies, yet intent remains. Form changes, yet will remains. Before sleep, you needn't imitate Jingwei filling the sea. Just ask whether there is one thing you know will be slow and small, yet you are still willing to carry a little each day. That little may be your 5-colored stone. Chang'e flying to the moon also has different versions in old books. Some stress stealing the elixir. Some stress lonely exile on the moon. Some stress longing for her husband. Immortal narratives in the Huainan system often lift human gain and loss into heaven, then ask the human world to look up. The moon is cold, yet ancients were willing to place longing there because night is long and needs a distant light. If you lie awake sometimes and glance at the moon outside the window, you needn't think of Chang'e. Just feel that ancients also feared long nights, so they made stories to keep themselves company. Listening to this book now is the same kind of companionship. The third idea is Sheng, life. Sheng means life, living, and coming into being. The Annals has treatises on spirit, on the root of the way, and on praising names, returning again and again to valuing life, cherishing the body, and nurturing spirit. In the chaos of the warring states, every school asked how to live. By early Han, the realm had settled somewhat, and Luan's circle cared more about the next question: now that we have survived, how do we live longer, lighter, and not be dragged to death by outer things? This is not teaching escape from duty. It's teaching you not to treat yourself like a machine with unlimited use. If by day you stay up for KPIs and harden your face for pride, one line on valuing life before sleep may let you exhale. It's not telling you to lie flat and stop working. It's telling you not to trade living for proving. Proof for whom, when morning waking matters more? Opposite Sheng Stanwu, outer things, and you, desire. Things are what lies outside you. Desire is what pulls you. The Annals speaks of moderating desire and loosening selfish grasp. That is not ascetic refusal of all human warmth. It's not letting desire lead you in circles like a dog chasing its tail. Immortal tales fill the book. Luan himself is said to have sought immortality and refined elixirs. Legend even ties tofu to his retainers. Truth and tale are mixed. Before sleep, treat that as curious gossip. What matters is that behind the quest for immortality lies fear of death and refusal of limit. The book writes of gods and also of people, drifting and also grounded, telling you the divine is far and the body is near as this breath tonight. The fourth idea is sure, time and season. The Annals discusses yin and yang and the 4 seasons, kin to the monthly ordinances in Master Lu's book, but with a more philosophical tone. Spring generates, summer grows, autumn gathers, winter stores. That is not only a farm rhyme. The human heart also needs rhythm. Sprint when sprinting fits. Sleep when sleep fits. Lying down now, you are following the season of night. Luan speaks of adapting to time and also waiting for time. Some matters can't be rushed. Some troubles can't be seen until their hour arrives. The tale of the old man at the frontier who lost his horse is often placed in the Huainan tradition. Its core is that fortune and misfortune turn in time. You can't see clearly in the moment. Walk a few steps farther and the shape appears. The old man at the frontier lost his horse. Neighbors comforted him. He said, "How do I know this is not fortune?" The horse returned and brought another fine horse. Neighbors congratulated him. He said, "How do I know this is not misfortune?" His son rode the fine horse, fell, and broke his leg. Neighbors comforted him again. He said, "How do I know this is not fortune?" A year later the Hou barbarians invaded in force. Many young men died in battle. His son, lame, was spared. If you heard our episode on the Tao Te Ching, you may remember we said the soul of this tale lives in Laozi. The Huainan version is fuller, more like a serial drama. Look back on your own life. Is it not often so? What made you cry later bent into another road. What made you proud also bred trouble. What you can't solve at night, set down for a while. Let it turn in time. The treatise on Shi customs speaks of local ways. In Shi and Shu speech differs and dress differs, yet hearts have places that resemble each other. Liu An did not preach one blunt cut for all. He admitted soil and habit, then reminded readers, custom may change, the way does not. That resembles what you meet by day, every region and department with its own temper. Listening widely is not muddling everything. It's first seeing clearly whether their way is marking the boat or adapting to custom. If you heard Master Liu on adapting ritual to custom, the Huainan tone feels softer, with less chancellor's urgency and more patience that people must first survive before you talk about neat alignment. The treatise on the forest of sayings is like a string of fable pearls. Someone sees a dead rabbit and waits by the stump. Someone adds feet to a snake. Someone loses the greater for the lesser. These stories share themes with Master Liu's Annals and Han Fizi. The Huainan book borrows them with a wider tone, more sigh than sneer. One tale before sleep can last a lifetime. Not every tale asks you to become a sage. It asks you to make one fewer mistake tomorrow of waiting by the stump. Opportunity passes. It does not always stop at the same tree. The fifth idea is Tao, the way. Tao is pattern, root, the background too large for words. The Annals root of the way says Tao precedes heaven and earth, formless and nameless, mother of the 10,000 things. That sounds obscure. You may hear it like this: some things have no clean name, yet you know wrong from right. Before sleep the body knows it should sleep while the mind still argues. The body is often right. Tao is not asking you to become a mystic. It's asking you to stop butting against hard pattern. Water flows low. Build a wall against it and the wall falls. The heart rises and falls. Demand ecstasy every night and you'll fall ill. Liu An's Tao is wide enough to hold myth, politics, and nurturing life. That is the air of early Han. The realm had just settled. Hearts still wanted to breathe. The sixth idea is Shi, governing and settling affairs. Don't think Liu An cared only for heaven because the book holds immortals and mended sky. Treatises on the ruler's methods, on human affairs, and on military strategy all ask how a ruler should use people, examine words, use arms, and keep the people from dying. He speaks of governing through non-action in one line with Laozi, yet also of necessary action. Choose the right officials. Remove the treacherous. Release what should be released. Non-action is not an empty chair. It's not grabbing and twisting at random. Action is not frantic busyness. It's doing the human work in sequence with heaven's way. If you lead a small team, before sleep ask which tasks should run in the system without your hand and which require your own gate. The Annals was turning that knob 2,000 years ago. The seventh idea is Hong, balance, weighing, and measure. Hou Yi leaving one son is balance. Nuwa mending one corner is balance. Yin and Yang each holding half is balance. The Annals discusses the 5 phases generating and overcoming one another. Before sleep you needn't memorize the chart. Just feel that excess and lack both bring illness. Too hard and you snap. Too soft and you collapse. Too hot like 10 suns. Too cold like endless night without young. If lately you feel worn or restless, ask whether you have too many suns or not enough young. That may not be metaphysics. It may be sleep, rhythm, or something you should release but still clutch. The treatise on military strategy speaks of war, cousin to the art of war, yet the Huainan book asks one more question after battle. Are the people still there? Is heaven still in accord? It does not treat victory as the only end. That fits Liu An as feudal king who also felt the pressure of central power. He understood force, and also that force pushed too far, like shooting 9 extra suns, throws heaven and earth out of balance. Ordinary readers needn't dream of becoming generals. They may read it as conflict management. Some fights are worth having. Some victories resemble shooting too many suns, leaving one sun while forgetting why night must exist. Myths fill Master Huainan's Annals. Besides Nüwa, Hou Yi, and Yang, early or related versions of Chang'e on the moon, Jingwei filling the sea, and Quafu chasing the sun appear in the tradition. Scholars match which tale comes from which book. Before sleep you needn't make that homework. Know only that Liu An's writers used myth not to tell children bedtime tales, but to draw the cosmos for adults. Why heaven tilts, why earth is wet, why people die, why the heart can't rest. Story answers fit reclining ears better than bare concept. If you heard marking the boat to find the sword and covering your ears while stealing a bell in Master Liu's Annals, you may feel the Huainan book has less sharp fable satire and more spacious cosmology. Lü Buwei asked whether policy is right. Liu An asked where the world came from. One stood at Xianyang's gate with a hanging manuscript. One stood in the Huai region watching stars. Both lines reach your pillow. The world changes. Don't mark the boat. The bell rings. Don't cover your ears. At the same time heaven is vast and your night is small. Small nights still have dignity. Being able to sleep is already occupying the square that belongs to you between heaven and earth. Liu An keeping scholars resembles and differs from Lü Buwei keeping scholars. Both look like opening a research house, food, topics, credit on the page. Lü Buwei wanted a think tank for Qin. Liu An wanted counsel for a princely house, plus a private wish to seek immortality and question the way. Retainers reportedly included names like Su Fei and Li Shang. Truth and tale mix. What matters is atmosphere. Debate was allowed. Writing was allowed. Esoteric practice was allowed. Yet words and power should not be bound forever. Lü Buwei later lost power while the book remained. Liu An did too. Whether a book hangs at the city gate matters less than whether its words can endure time. Han's scholarly air differed from the Warring States. The Warring States was struggle. Early Han was gathering a broken realm, gathering floating hearts, gathering schools into a larger basket. Master Huainan's Annals is one of the more drifting volumes in that basket. Dong Zhongshu's line is the straighter one. A larger basket makes it easier for a sleeping person to find a corner. You needn't choose sides tonight. Just lie in your own corner and listen. If Liu An knew that 2,000 years later someone would read his retainer's words on a pillow, he might think, the chickens and dogs did not ascend, yet the voice ascended, and that's enough. The treatise on terrain speaks of mountains and rivers like an ancient geography class. Where water gathers, where mountains rise, where planting suits, where hunting suits. It sounds like travel writing, yet it's really earth constraining the human. You are not discussing the way in a vacuum. You stand on a piece of land and breathe. If you traveled hard one day, you understand better. Terrain is not only a map. It's ache in the knees, direction of wind, height of the hotel pillow tonight. Binding people to earth reminds you that when you speak of heaven and human, don't forget the layer of soil under the feet. The treatise on astronomy speaks of stars, solar terms, and the motion of sun and moon. Ancients called this calendar and number. Calendar is not only dates. It's rhythm. Number is not only arithmetic. It's pattern. The weather forecast on your phone is a modern astronomy treatise. You needn't calculate. You need only trust that if rain comes tomorrow, you bring in clothes tonight. That is the simplest adapting to heaven. Liu An's generation had no satellites, yet they watched clouds, watched the Dipper, watched the four seasons with care. That care deserves respect before sleep. It's not asking you to become an astronomer. It's asking you not to treat yourself like a machine unrelated to season. We are about halfway through the program. During this breath, one small favor. If tonight's voice has kept you company, please tap like and subscribe, as if leaving one lamplit for me in the night. You needn't sit up. One finger is enough. Good. We continue with Master Huainan's Annals. Next I want to gather heaven, transformation, life, time, the way, and governing for you, so that after sleep you remember more than myth's noise. Heaven, you are not shamed to live inside pattern. Transformation, the world changes. Mending sky and shooting sun both restore balance. Life, the body is nearer than immortals. Sleep first tonight. Time, fortune and misfortune need time to show their shape. The way, the vast background is often known first by the body. Governing, release where non-action fits, don't flee where action is needed. One more line. Myth is not asking you to believe in wonders. It lets you feel with story where the structure has cracked. 3 more words: essence, breath, and spirit. Essence is the body's foundation. Breath is force in motion. Spirit's the light of the mind. The Annals often links all three in nurturing life. Drain spirit too far and breath scatters. Essence and breath run low and spirit can't rest. Translate to tonight. Scroll too long and breath floats. Body tired and spirit dims. You needn't refine elixirs. Dim one screen before sleep and take one even breath. That is the simplest nurturing of spirit. If Liu An saw you lying down listening, he might feel the way was not spoken in vain more than if he saw you kneeling for a talisman. Folk legend says Liu An's retainers invented tofu by curdling soy milk into blocks, easy to digest and filling. Scholars dispute it. Treat it as a bedtime snack thought. Sometimes what seekers of immortality leave on earth is not a pill but a soft white block of tofu, very homely, very grounded. The Annals is like that too. It speaks of Nuwa in heaven and Chi customs on earth. It dreams of immortals asleep and also teaches how not to scatter spirit awake. If you are hungry tonight, eat tomorrow. If not hungry, hand the stomach to sleep as well. The tale of the 8 sages seeking immortality is highly dramatic. 8 lofty men came to the princely house. Liu An received them with ritual. They cultivated together. Legend later says even chickens and dogs ascended. That is oil added by later ages. Historians don't fully believe it. Yet it reveals a mood. People hope for ascent as a whole, hope everything nearby rises with them. Reality is often otherwise. Power goes, people go, books remain. Liu An did not ascend. Master Huainan's Annals ascended to countless shelves. You needn't ask chickens and dogs to rise. If tomorrow you still remember one question from tonight, That's already the book remaining. Compared with Zhuangzi, who loves free wandering, the Huainan book loves setting the order of heaven and earth before wandering begins. Neither is higher. Zhuangzi is wind. The Annals is the atmosphere before wind. Compared with Laozi's 5,000 words like a dagger, the Huainan book's 200,000 characters are like an atlas. Carry the dagger. Spread the atlas. Compared with Master Lu's Annals, Lu's book is a chancellor's yearbook. The Huainan book is an observatory log. One asks this month's command. One asks tonight's stars. Compared with Han Fizi's cold use of law, Lu An's book also casts legalist shadow, yet adds a warning not to violate heaven. Law too fierce is like 10 suns. People wither too. Lu An's own ending was not good. Under Emperor Wu the court tightened central power again and again. Feudal kings lost ground. Lu An's domain in Huainan was large and famous. He was tied to outside intrigue and finally drawn into a rebellion case. Historians dispute whether he truly plotted or was framed. Before sleep you needn't be the court. The ending is clear. Emperor Wu ordered arrest. Lu An knew power had left and took his own life with a sword. The man who wrote myths could not mythologize his own fate. The man who sought immortals could not immortalize his end. This is history, not fable. Reading his book, don't make him a saint. Use him as a mirror. Those who read heaven clearly can still fall in the whirlpool of human power. Lu An's son Lu Qian was also implicated in the rebellion case and was condemned to death in the records. Father and son, like an arrow poorly shot, missing the target. Family rise and fall makes the book's calm stand out sharper. The text speaks of fortune and misfortune leaning on each other, waiting for time, not action. The human world often can't wait. Before sleep, don't mourn the ancients too long. Take half a line. When power rises, don't float. When power goes, don't brace until you break. Write the book you can write. Sleep the sleep you can sleep first. Emperor Wu's age had strong state power, yet thought was being gathered in. Dong Zhongshu's heaven-human resonance and great unity were not the same road as Lu An's princely cosmology. One wanted one voice under heaven. One wanted many explanations of heaven and earth to stand together. That is not necessarily good person against bad. It's two appetites. Master Huainan's Annals was never made the only textbook. Like Master Lu's book, it became required reading without monopoly. You read it precisely because no one forces you to memorize the whole text. That suits the pillow. Yet the book remains. Later scholars collated, annotated, and disputed versions, yet the Annals stays a station you can't bypass in Chinese thought. Nüwa mending sky, Hou Yi shooting sun, Gangang striking the mountain, among the earliest serious sources for many childhood myths. Heaven and human, yin and yang, nurturing life, not action, a specimen of early Han Taoist and eclectic writing. Many stars in tonight's sky were kept for us by this book. After the song, readers often mentioned the Huainan book beside Master Lu's Annals under the name Huainan Honglai, Great Blaze of Huainan. The name is full. Before sleep you may hear it at a discount. You needn't understand all. Know only that early Han people seriously asked how heaven, earth, and people should be arranged. Qing textual scholars compared wording and found later additions, reminding you to read old books with a spirit of examining tradition. Master Lu loved that lesson. It applies here too. Legend is legend. Doctrine is doctrine. Don't stir both into one muddy soup. Lu An's retainers already planned a reading method for you. You needn't chew from scroll 1 to the last. Start with myth sections like bedtime tales. Then read Root of the Way and Spirit like 2 long essays. If interested, open astronomy and terrain as ancient popular science. Scholars fight over authors and dates. Before sleep, don't wrestle them. This night is for another pair of glasses, not for becoming an expert. Expert work belongs to daylight. At night you only receive a few questions while relaxing. Here is a cousin of the orange that becomes trifoliate orange when transplanted. The Annals often says things differ by land and people differ by custom. The soil of Huainan nurtured a princely atmosphere. Move the same words elsewhere and they may not work. That is not relativism without bottom. It reminds you when reading old books to keep a little awareness of where I am and who I am tonight. In bed is the best place for valuing life. In the office, speaking of non-action needs another translation. The same river walked on the bank or swam in the water moves at different speed. The principle can still connect. One night you may wake remembering only one image. A person on a tower looking up at the single sun that remains. Wind is soft. You needn't remember Liu An's name. Remember the measure of a world once too full, needing 9 removed before life could continue. Not everyone can draw a bow like Hou Yi. Everyone in a small world can ask whether there are too many suns, whether night should be left for sleep. Compared with records of the grand historian, the history records Liu An's biography as human event. The Annals records heaven, earth, and human as idea. History shows what happened. The Annals shows what people of the time believed about how the world runs. Compared with strategies of the warring states, that book is winning and losing with the mouth. This book is Cosmos on the back. Compared with the art of war, Xuanzi strikes outward. The Annals asks inward why you strike and whether people remain after war. Compared with the Yellow Emperor's inner canon, both speak of nurturing life. The canon leans medical. The Annals leans philosophy wrapped in myth. Listening to Huainan before sleep is like an old person pointing at stars while saying care for the body and also the heart. Root of the Way contains a passage on Shun plowing at Mount Li and potting by the river. Not because he was born knowing farm and kiln, but because time and human nature let him cultivate virtue in low place before great duty came. Later ages polished the tale. Don't treat it as archive. Treat it as comfort. If you feel your position is low and tasks are small, that may not be the end. It may be your Mount Li Luan is not teaching fate worship. He is teaching you not to despise daily self-cultivation. If you must work tomorrow morning, tonight's listening may ease a little the anxiety that only grand matters count. The treatise on spirit speaks of spirit and form. Form is the house. Spirit's the one living inside. When the house leaks, repair it. When the person is tired, sleep. Conversely, if the person lives in fear and anger all day, the house trembles too. If your heart has been uneasy these days, before sleep do one thing only. Drop the shoulders half an inch. Loosen the jaw slightly. Tell the spirit, no fighting tonight. That is not escape. It's what the Annals calls nurturing spirit by first ceasing war. If you heard our episodes on the great learning and the doctrine of the mean, you may remember inner sage and outer king. The Huainan book sits on the inner side with a cosmic blueprint added. It does not teach you to become immortal in one night. It teaches you not to measure a changing world with one dead ruler. Before sleep, place your hand on the blanket and feel breath. That is the simplest version of valuing life. You are still alive. Today's matters can change tomorrow. The sky you can't mend tonight, you may set down tonight. Folktales also bind Luan with Wang Zhaojun and legends of the Huainan region. Historians needn't believe all. It reminds you that when one person's place name binds to one book, 2,000 years of imagination tangles tighter. Reading the Annals, don't treat every legend as archive. Just feel that books outlive people, people outlast power a little, and power outlasts one night's plot. So Liu An died, yet the book remains, myths remain, and the night beside your pillow remains. Finally gather 7 words gently, like folding the blanket. Heaven is pattern. Transformation is change. Life is cherishing the body. Time is waiting for fortune to turn. The way is vast background. Governing is human process. Balance is not going past the mark. 7 words are not a spell. No need to memorize. Hearing is enough. If tomorrow you remember only shooting sun and leaving one, that's enough. Too many dry you out. Too few leave you cold. One is just right for sleep. Compared with the Wenzi and Lizi, all walk a Taoist road. Wenzi is a close neighbor to the Huainan book. Lizi has more fantastic fables. Reading all 3 is like hearing 3 speeds of flute. Compared with the Guanzi, Guanzi leans political economy. Huainan leans cosmic image. One asks what to do. One asks how to think. Compared with Deng Shizi, Deng stresses debate. Huainan stresses inclusion. Before sleep, Huainan usually helps more. Compared with Mozi, Mozi condemns attack and teaches universal care. Huainan also speaks against endless war, yet with less must and more choice after reading Heaven. If you treat tonight as a small journey, from the anxiety of 10 suns to the balance after shooting, from the crack in fallen heaven to 5 colored stones in Nuwa's hands, from the frontier horse lost to the answer time gives, you have already walked the circle the annals most wants you to walk. You needn't enter the princely house, meet the 8 sages, or refine elixirs. Lie on your own bed. Align breath with night. You have joined the quietest discourse of early Han. Liu An may never have imagined you on a pillow. The gentlest part of the book is allowing you not to become an expert, only a listener who is comforted. Before the ending, one light question. Nüwa mending sky, Hou Yi shooting sun, the old man who lost his horse, which feels most like you're weak? Do you feel a piece of heaven fell and must be mended slowly? Too many suns and eyes will not open? A lost horse whose fortune you still can't read? You needn't answer me. Think one line after waking if you like. If still awake, tell me in the comments. I want to see whose pillow still holds a myth lit after 1,000 years. If you wish to continue, next we may read Essentials of Governance from the Xinhuan reign, notes on governing from Tang's Xinhuan era, like stepping from looking up at heaven back to looking down at people, accepting remonstrance, using people well, restraining the self, how Taizong and Wei Zheng turned a broken age into daily lessons worth learning. That connects with tonight's heaven-human correspondence and non-action, a line from myth into human politics. If you heard Master Liu's Annals, from embracing schools, adaptation, clear-seeing, and valuing life to tonight's heaven, transformation, life, and time, Qin and Han, Chancellor and Prince, Pot and Stars, all ask one sentence. How does a person live between heaven and earth without being crushed? Tonight's Master Huainan's Annals ends here. You needn't remember 21 scroll titles or memorize yin yang school terms. Remember only this. Heaven is vast. You are small. Small still has the right to sleep. The world changes. Mending sky and shooting sun both tune too much or too little back toward balance. Fortune and misfortune need time. If you can't solve something at night, sleep first. The body is nearer than immortals. You will need it in the morning. If you can hold half a line more, remember this. Where non-action fits, twist less. Where action is needed, don't flee. Give breath to the blanket. Give stars to the window outside. Give the rest to sleep. This is Bedside Book Voice. Good night, see you in the pages.